Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. The Oxford Village Police Chief is settling into his new job, and Village Manager Joe Young receives termination news. And as one village homeowner puts it, there's water everywhere.
Stay tuned, learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. "46-year-old village officer Mike Solwald was sworn in as the acting village police chief by Oxford Village Clerk Treasurer Susan Nasser. Nasser performed the honors in front of a packed audience in the February 14th Village Council meeting. Officer Solwald replaces Mike Niemanowski, who recently retired after serving as a village police chief for the last 17 years.
Barely 90 days into the new council year, and the face of the Village of Oxford leadership is changing at record speed. In the past 3 weeks, DDA Director Joe Frost resigned to take a position with Oakland County. Barely a week later, after some controversy with the Village Council, 17-year police chief Mike Niemanowski tendered his resignation, and on Thursday, February 23rd, in the 3-2 vote, the Village Council discontinued the renewal of the contract for 16-year Village Manager Joe Young. While Council gave no explanation for the contract termination, after a short closed session meeting, one of two no-vote Council members, Maureen Helmuth, said she was completely blindsided by the motion made by Eric Dolan, supported by Bill Kennis. The second no vote was from Dave Bailey, and the final yes vote was from Council President Sue Bassardet, who chose no comment on the termination. An anonymous source confirmed two other village employees have resigned as well. Young stated he will continue to stay at the village until March 31st.
Oxford Village officials are attempting to find an honorable solution to a drainage problem impacting a homeowner on Park Street. The homeowner contends poor monitoring by inspectors and excavation by contractors ultimately allowed water to run down the road from a newly constructed home located at 100 Park. The resident's basement has flooded twice so far since the construction, incurring damages which exceed $7,000. The claim and solution to the problem are currently being reviewed by the Village Council and its attorney, Bob Davis. They are trying to figure out who is at fault and how to remedy the situation as quickly as possible. President of the Oxford Village Council, Sue Bassardet, declared the homeowner's plight is totally unacceptable.
The Edison Board of Trustees unanimously approved Doug Lowe as the building ordinance officer. Lowe replaces recently retired longtime building official Mike Boisvert. Lowe lives in Leonard, brings with him over 40 years experience and work, and served as a contract plumbing, mechanical, and building inspector in Addison Township since 2007. Lowe will be responsible for issuing building permits and inspecting construction to ensure construction codes are met. Congratulations.
Brad Jacobson, who served this community as the 46th District Representative for 6 years, has been appointed to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, LCC. Jacobson, a 1975 graduate of Oxford High School, takes on the commissioner's responsibility with a wealth of work and educational experience. Due to term limitations, Republican Jacobson could not seek another stint with the Michigan House. Republican John Riley successfully won the election for the seat Brad Jacobson once held. You can view a recent interview with Riley on our community access on our website, occtv.org.
Some local Oxford kids were locked in at the Oxford Library last Friday evening, but not because someone forgot to check the building before it closed. The kids were invited to stay after hours to eat cake, cupcakes, decorate the cakes, and sample various chocolate specialties. Check out our local library for more fun kid events. Fun was had by all.
Hey, want to go swimming? Well, how about polar bear style? Members of the Rochester North Oakland Elks Lodge 2225 recently took a dip in the Addison Township's Shadow Lake. These wild elks cut a large hole in the ice, put on goofy costumes, and plunged into the freezing water. Now, why would anyone do this crazy stunt? They did it to raise over $1,000 in sponsorships, and money goes to children's charities, community programs, veterans services, and much more. By the way, the next time you do this, let us know. We'll send a camera crew.
A 74-year-old Orion Township man was trying to jump-start a 2003 Ford Taurus with his second car and ended up getting pinned under one of the vehicles. Police say the man put the car with the manual transmission in neutral while attempting to give the other car a jump. The car moved forward, and in his attempt to physically stop the car, he was pinned between the two vehicles. He remains hospitalized, and the incident is still under investigation.
And still another attempted burglary took place at an Oxford business this week. Officers said a North Lapeer business, a rear window has been completely shattered. However, the business owner checked his store for inventory loss and determined nothing was missing. The business does have surveillance cameras outside of the building, which captured evidence for the investigation.
That's a heck of a thing, isn't it? At least he didn't lose any merchandise.
That's for sure.
That's it for Oxford News this week. If you want to learn more about these stories and others, you just need to stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader, or better yet, catch us right here at OCTV, Charter Channel 191, or AT&T Channel 99.
Great. And coming up next on OCTV, filling in for Jamie Hughes is Cody Wright with your Oxford Sports. Then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. And you don't want to miss Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Canine Stray Rescue does just that. Rescue stray dogs for new families. But they need your help. Become a volunteer at Canine Stray Rescue League of Michigan. Take dogs for walks, help them socialize with others, and help them get adopted. Fill out an application and help a family add a new member today.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, buttercups have a trick for warming their flowers that may be unique to this group of plants. Inside each flower petal, special cells create 2 layers of air that deflect the light, reaching them sideways. This makes the petals act together like a parabolic reflector, focusing visible and infrared light on the flower center. The flowers act as heat concentrators, says Dirk Stevenga at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands, whose team discovered the trick. Warming the pollen-producing stamens has previously been shown to boost their growth and chance of fertilization, he says. Insect pollinators prefer warmer flowers, for instance, perhaps because it allows them to keep their own temperature up. Buttercups get their bright color from yellow pigments in the petal surface layer, but the petal's shiny gloss is due to the double layer of air just beneath the surface. This reflectivity is what turns people's chins yellow when they hold a flower underneath. Some other plants also warm their flowers. A few burn food like warm-blooded animals, and one rhubarb species has translucent leaves that act like a greenhouse. And on the medical front, avian flu is on the rampage in China again. There have been 424 cases in humans already since last October, more than a third of all those identified since the H7N9 virus emerged in 2013. And it is spreading. Last week, it was announced that the virus had acquired mutations that could make it a much bigger problem. H7N9 mainly infects birds and doesn't readily pass from human to human. But should it acquire this ability, a deadly pandemic could ensue. The virus spreads in poultry without making birds visibly sick, so it often is only found when people fall ill. But this week, both mainland China and Taiwan reported human cases in which a surface protein on the virus has a mutation that makes it lethal to chickens. If that spreads, H7N9 will be highly pathogenic like H5N1. While the mutation doesn't make people any more sick, it allows the virus to replicate much faster in chickens. With more in circulation, people and perhaps pigs and mammals are more likely to catch it. Each case is a chance for H7N9 to adapt to mammals and perhaps become a better at spreading from person to person. Our only real defense is a vaccine, and last week China launched clinical trials of 4 strains by a state-owned vaccine firm. But even if the vaccine works, the world cannot yet make enough to cope with a pandemic. And on the vitamin front, prone to sniffles? Well, some vitamin D might help. More than 3 million people in the UK could avoid having colds and flu every year if they took vitamin D supplements. That's according to an analysis of data from nearly 11,000 people. The analysis used data from 25 clinical trials and found that the vitamin D supplements can cut the proportion of people getting respiratory infections by 12%. The study's authors say the results strengthen the case for fortifying foods in the UK with vitamin D. Public Health England already recommends that people consider taking vitamin D during the autumn and winter months to protect musculoskeletal health. And that cod liver oil from my youth still rings true. And on our next story, for women who have recovered from breast cancer, exercise appears to be the most important lifestyle choice to reduce the risk of death from a relapse. Around a quarter of all women with breast cancer will eventually die when the cancer spreads to other parts of their body. But living more healthily can reduce the risk of this happening. To find out what lifestyle changes might have the greatest effect, Ellen Warner and Julie Hamer of Sunnybrook Health Science Center in Toronto, Canada, analyzed 67 studies that examined factors such as diet, exercise, and weight, and their effect on the health of women who had been successfully treated for breast cancer. They conclude that physical activity can reduce the chance of death from a breast cancer relapse by up to 40%. Exercise has the most consistent and greatest impact on the relative risk of breast cancer death, says Warner. The ideal amount is 150 minutes of moderate physical exercise spread over a week, she says. It is hard to isolate why exercise confirms such benefits, says Warner, but one possible explanation is that it suppresses inflammation that could otherwise damage cells and increase the risk of cancer spreading. One potential problem with the study is that the women decided how much exercise to do themselves, but those with undetected secondary cancers might have been too tired or in too much pain to exercise, showing the apparent benefit of exercise on the death rate, says Ann McTiernan of the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research in Seattle, Washington. A randomized trial with women assigned at random to an exercise or a control group then followed over time would be very helpful, she says. Warner says the second most important lifestyle factor is limiting weight gain after cancer treatment. Different types of diet appear to have no effect on risk of relapse. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Welcome to American Legion in Oxford for the best fish on Fridays. That's right, from noon to 8:30. You can get the best walleye in Michigan. You can get walleye, baked cod, chicken strips, baked potatoes, and more. On the hall side of the Legion, oh, hello there, friends. You can have 12 friends on a table, any one of the best military museums in Michigan. And the dining side, oh, hello again. More comfortable with many 4-seat tables and a couple of 5-seaters. Now on Friday, we usually have about 400 to 500 of best friends for our fish. Carryout? You bet. We have 50 to 60 carryouts at the post. We have some young friends with the birthdays and some of our best seniors at the post. Oh yeah, waitresses, they go like a track waitress to get your food. If you have never enjoyed our secret famous walleye at the Legion, come on in every Friday from noon to 8:30 at the American Legion Post 108 on 130 East Rainer Road, Oxford.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. Famed jazz clarinetist and saxophonist Annette Cohen performed at OHS recently. She was joined by the Michigan State University Jazz Bands and our own Oxford Jazz Band. This is the second visit by a famous jazz artist to our campus. Our Russell Courier talked to a very proud John Hill about how this all got started.
Right. Well, the MSU jazz coordinator, Max Colley, gave me a call last year, and we brought in a very special guest, Kenny Barron. He's a great pianist, and for many reasons, including the amazing food that we feed the bands between the rehearsal and the concert, they said we want to come back. So we have great food. Actually, our food people are here right now. So they wanted to come back, and we have Annette Cohen, and she's a great world-class clarinet player. And so we're just glad. Hopefully this is an annual thing. I hope we can just keep this continued.
Russell asked our jazz band director, what's in this for the kids?
And it's interesting because every student's going to get something out of it. Every student, you know, and you don't really know what they're going to glean from it. It might be that they just had fun hanging out, playing on a Saturday with other musicians. It might be the pizza. It might be they heard a world-class musician playing and it would be, oh my gosh, this is, you know, it depends on it. So just giving them these sort of experiences. We were at CMU last week for their jazz festival, and every student loved it. For whatever reasons, every student had a great time, and I'm hoping today's the same.
Cohen has been on 14 albums and has won many awards, including Up-and-Coming Artist and Clarinetist of the Year from the Jazz Journalists Association. If you've noticed a fierce look of competition on the faces of our elementary principals, it probably has something to do with the launching of the Battle of the Books. Kim Buren at our library is in charge, and she laid out the rules to our Janet Warner.
Well, we have a fourth grade Battle of the Books program coming up, and that is a big competition that pits the 4 elementary schools against each other and their book knowledge of 5 books that they'll all read. The kids put together teams of between 4 and 6 members, and then they read the same 5 books, and once they've spent a few months practicing and getting together, it all culminates in the big battle at the high school on April 11th of 2017. And the teams will compete and answer questions about all of the books that they've read. And the team who has the most points at the end of the night comes out the champion and gets to bring the trophy home to their school and get bragging rights for the year.
Kim says there's more to it than just reading.
Then they brainstorm a really creative team name, and they also come up with a costume to wear on the night. And so there are also awards for best team name and most creative costume. And so it's always very exciting to see the creativity that comes through with the different teams on the night of the battle.
Janet made the rounds to our principals just to see how hot things were really getting.
So best costume, best name, and of course the trivia winners all came from Leonard Elementary last year. I think we're going to want to keep this here again this year. I challenge the other elementary schools here in our district to come take this trophy from us.
We are here at Oxford Elementary School ready to claim this trophy again. If you look on that trophy, you'll see Oxford Elementary School there quite a few times, and we are confident and ready to bring it back to Oxford Elementary School.
This year, Mr. McDevitt at Leonard kind of threw out a challenge. He said that Leonard is going to win every award in Battle of the Books.
And when you think about the Battle of the Books competition that takes place each April, the elementary that comes to mind is Clear Lake Elementary.
We will be following up. Another event our elementaries were involved in is Jump Rope for Heart. Sean Regan is a physical ed teacher over at Daniel Axford. He explains.
So throughout the years, physical educators throughout the state, throughout the nation, have been involved with Jump Rope for Heart for longer than I've been around as a teacher. So as I became a teacher, it was something that we kind of were recommended. Now it's something that we all just enjoy doing for our community. Our community is a very supportive community, so we've done it throughout the years.
Okay, and how does it work? What exactly happens?
So what happens is we have a representative through Jump Rope for Heart. She kind of sets up all the districts, all the schools individually with all the envelopes and fundraiser information. All that information is stuff that we give to the parents and the students, and the information involves envelopes where the children have to collect donations. All the donations that are collected, whether it's online or to me, are sent into Jump Rope for Heart, the organization. The organization ends up sending all that money to the American Heart Association.
Sean tells us the final tally.
This year, actually, we had a pretty good year. I have really young students, so getting the word out is always kind of a challenge because they are a little younger, but the parents are great at helping out. They email, they get involved. We raised almost $3,000 for the American Heart Association.
All in all, our district raised between $15,000 and $16,000 for the American Heart Association. Not bad. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
What's up, Oxford fans? Cody Wright here to touch base on Oxford sports this week. We're just about finishing things up for this season. Not a whole lot to touch on, but the events are exciting and the stakes are high. Let's take a look. Starting stuff off with boys basketball. Monday we took on Troy High at home. Freshmen started the night off with a struggle and fell to a final of 33-30. The following things up, the JV club couldn't get the momentum back and fell to a final of 41-37. Wildcats were struggling that night and Troy wasn't letting up. Jordan Jaden and his varsity boys tried to turn things around a bit and fell to a final of 63-51. It's not like our varsity boys to fall in all three games. However, all good teams have their off nights and this is nothing to hang our heads about. Well, the girls basketball took on Rochester Adams the same night on the road. The freshmen took a dive to start things off early in the night with a final of 27-24. The JV gals following that game up turned things around, switching the momentum to Wildcat basketball. Final score 31-27, and our varsity ladies fed off that hard work and ended the night on a high note with a win 48-42. The following night, our girls returned home and tipped off against Bloomfield Hills. The night didn't start off well when our freshman ladies took another dive and lost 27-17. The JV girls couldn't do things differently, and our varsity girls just couldn't get things going as well and lost 46-29. Our gals have really shown another side to them, though, the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's been a different team on the court than we saw at the beginning of the season. Like I said, all teams have rough nights, and it's the good teams that shake it off and go back to work and get things back on track. Well, our bowling program, as we have seen, brings Oxford most nothing but success. Last Sunday, all the talk was proven when our girls bowlers finished first place in the OAA Team Championship Tournament. You can't ask for anything better than that. Our boys had a great year as well and bowled some great games, taking second in the OAA Team Championship Tournament. I think we can all speak for each other when we say congratulations to the bowlers and coaches. What a season. Let's not forget the MHSSAA lay ahead. Like I've said, not a whole lot to report on this winter for this winter sports. Winding down, we are looking forward to reporting some good news on our boys swimming as they compete in the MHSAA regionals and finals. Our wrestling program, as it heads to the individuals, bring back some titles to our hometown boys. Well, that should just about wrap things up this week. Remember to stay posted at oxfordathletics.org for upcoming games, events, scores, statistics. Come on out and support these teams because the seasons are just about over. Also check out our website at occtv.org. You can check out all of our coverage through our YouTube page, which can be accessed through the website, or you can tune in on your local channel on Saturdays and Sundays between 1 and 6 for the sports coverage. We really appreciate all the support from all you guys, and we enjoy bringing you your community news. I want to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to tune in next week. I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, Carlos Ghosn, the long-serving chief executive who rescued Nissan Motor Company from bankruptcy, is stepping down as CEO, having nearly finished his latest business plan and driven the Renault-Nissan alliance to new heights with the acquisition of Mitsubishi Motor Corporation. Ghosn, who joined Nissan in 1999 from France's Renault SA and became Nissan CEO 2 years later, will retain his position as chairman of Japan's second biggest automaker, the company said in a statement in Tokyo. Hiroto Sakawa, who currently serves as a co-CEO and is a year older than the 62-year-old Ghosn, will become sole chief executive. And those changes are effective April 1st. Ghosn will also retain his roles as chairman and CEO of Renault and the Renault-Nissan Alliance, spokesman Jonathan Adasek said. He will also stay on as chairman of Mitsubishi, a company brought into the alliance last October through Nissan's purchase of a controlling stake. At that time, Ghosn promoted Sakawa to the role of Nissan's co-CEO. Ghosn said his new responsibilities at Mitsubishi warranted the full handover to Sakawa. And on the financial front, more Americans fell behind on their car loan payments in the fourth quarter, bringing auto delinquencies to their highest since the height of the financial crisis, Federal Reserve Bank of New York data released on February 16th showed. Car loans delinquent by 30 days or more grew to $23.27 billion, the most since the $23.46 billion in the third quarter of 2008. They were up from the $22.98 billion in the prior quarter. Seriously delinquent auto loans whose payments were 90 days or more past due jumped to $8.24 billion in the fourth quarter, the highest since the third quarter of 2016, according to the survey. Delinquency is a predictor of possible losses for auto lenders or car makers' captive financers, which also make low-interest loans to attract buyers. Last month, Ford Motor Company's finance arm said it expected an uptick in loan losses from historically low levels following the rise in delinquencies and car repossessions. The increase in late loan payments coincided with drivers loading up on debt to buy the latest car, truck, and SUV models, fueling expectations for record auto sales in 2017. The increase in car loans was part of a broader growth in household debt in the fourth quarter, which almost hit an all-time high in the fourth quarter, reaching $12.58 trillion, according to the survey. And at GM, General Motors plans to deploy thousands of self-driving electric vehicles in test fleets in partnership with ride-sharing affiliate Lyft Incorporated beginning in 2018, two sources familiar with the automaker's plans told Reuters. It is expected to be the largest such test of fully autonomous vehicles by any major automaker before 2020, when several companies have said they plan to begin building and deploying such vehicles in higher volumes. Google's Waymo unit, in comparison, is currently testing about 60 self-driving prototypes in 4 states. Most of the specially equipped versions of the Chevrolet Bolt electric vehicle will be used by San Francisco-based Lyft, which will test them in its ride-sharing fleet in several states, one of the sources said. GM has no immediate plans to sell the Bolt AV to individual customers, according to the source. GM executives have said in interviews and investor presentations during the past year they intend to mass-produce autonomous vehicles and deploy them in ride services fleets. However, GM officials have not revealed details of the scale of production or the timing of the deployment of those vehicles. And over at Audi, which has been caught up in parent Volkswagen Group's emissions cheating scandal, has fired 4 engineers from its diesel division. Audi's former chief of engine development, Ulrich Weiss, and the automaker's former head of emissions in the U.S. are among the engineers fired, the publication Handelsblatt reported on February 20th. An Audi spokesman confirmed to Automotive News Europe that the dismissal of 4 engineers, including Weiss, but declined to comment on the names of the other engineers. The reason in all cases is gross breach of duty, the spokesman said. Wow. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.